Welcome everybody to Eye of the Serpent Tarot for another pick a card reading. So today we're looking at what is coming up for you over 2023, a sort of a preview of coming attractions, so to speak. Or if you are watching this at some later stage than when it's published, then this can also operate as the next 12 months. And you'll see in the structure of the reading, we're going to sort of start with some key themes around the next 12 months, or for the people who see it when it's published, 2023. But I'll also do a month by month reading as well for key sort of messages month by month. So if you're watching it when it's published, then that's January through to December 2023. But if you're watching it some later time, just take what is I talk about as January as month one and go forward on that level. So it can work on either depending on when you come here. So don't worry if you have come later. So this is, one of those kind of broader predictive types of readings. We're going to look at relationships, career and finance, well-being and spiritual development. And as I say, the key energies around that, how those areas might connect to each other over the period of time, and some advice from your spirit team and so forth as well. So hopefully it'll be fun, interesting and revealing for you. To help with the choice, I'll put down the number. You can, of course, go to more than one because there could be sort of messages across more than one reading with this. So I put down the numbers, but I've also chosen a different tarot deck for each pile. There will be a second tarot deck that is the same with all of them, which you'll see as we go through. But to help with the choice, for pile number one, I'm choosing the Fool card for each as new beginnings, new starts, fresh beginnings, all the new year energy, but also, as I say, the next 12 months. So I have the Fool card from the Unfolding Path Tarot for pile one, the Fool card from the Pythia Tarot for pile two, and the Fool card from the Radiant Wilds Tarot for pile three. So when you know what reading or readings you would like to go to, the timestamps as always are in the description box below, and I'll see you there. Welcome pile one to your reading. So what we have here are your tarot cards to look at the different aspects of life, as I say, the themes. So this is the themes for the next 12 months or 2023, depending on when you're watching it. So this is around love and relationships. This is around career and finance. This is around your general well-being, and this is around your spiritual path, spiritual development and so forth over the next 12 months. So what we will do is there are some sort of shuffled and intuitively chosen cards that were under the Fool card that brought you to this reading that we'll look at various stages, the first of which will be some astrology around this as well too. But I just want to look at this energy first. So the key issue, I think, for you around relationships, and it's interesting we have the Lovers card here, so I think it is very much tilting towards sort of romantic relationships and so forth. For some of you, it may be around friendships or work partnerships if you're already in a sort of stable relationship or you're not interested in that in your life for some reason. But I think for most, this is around choices to do with how much you would want to commit to something, and I think it's how much you would want to commit. Because I've got the Queen of Pentacles reversed here and the Knight of Pentacles reversed. Both when they are upright, Knight of Pentacles is very dedicated, very in a relationship sense, somebody who really wants to do the work, somebody who wants to do it day to day, wants it to be part of their life. And the Queen of Pentacles, when upright, it's an energy of keeping the home fires burning, the sort of sense of, yes, this is home to me now, this is something that I'm committed to. So the fact that they're both reversed and we have the Lovers card upright. For some of you, it may be just that a new lover's coming in and it may take some time, maybe the greater majority of the year, potentially, to be really sure if this is something you want to commit to, or it just might be a bit of a slow burn. It is interesting with Pentacles cards. I feel like that is the slower energy. When we sort of in this particular area, if we'd seen Wands, for instance, there'd be a lot of passion and speed around it, or even Swords, which could be a little bit emotionally detached, but is like very much a meeting of the minds. This feels much more like it has potential. It definitely has potential, but I don't think that you're going to necessarily commit easily. The other possibility is that it's someone around you who you're trying to see if they're going to commit. But I feel for most, this is like the choice is for you. I guess it could be that if someone doesn't make a decision to commit, in the next few months, next 6 months or something like that, if you've been going out for a while, you make the decision to move on to someone new. It could be that, but I feel like the decision is in your hands. It is around the grounded and material things for relationships. Will you move in together? Will you get married if marriage is something that you believe in and want to do? Those sorts of things. It could also be that in an established relationship, that there might be some material change in what's sort of going on, the choices that you do together. So it could be things like where you live. It could be, do you establish a business together? There's something material going on in 2023 for you around commitment, relationships, that sort of energy. And for some of you, it may connect to career, because it's interesting over here. There's something very new coming in for career. You're not entirely sure at first about it with the Four of Pentacles. It's kind of like you've done well, I would say, in the last 12 months. You really established yourself. You've got a foundation, and you're a little bit nervous about something new. But something new and quite destined is coming in this area with the Fool and the Chariot. There's a real forward momentum. So I think many of you will, potentially get promoted, or you'll get headhunted for a role, or if you wanted to sort of set up a business, you've got the foundations in place and it really starts to move forward for you. Very, very positive energy here. Just maybe a little bit fast sometimes for what you want. And it is possible between these two that there is a connection. It may well be that what's going on here is that it's not so much about whether you want to commit to a relationship or whether they want to commit to you. It's more big changes going on materially that are causing choices that disrupt the sort of nature of the relationship in some way, not necessarily negatively. I don't get a particularly negative feeling, actually. You might think that with that, but I feel with that being upright, this being upright, this being upright, I feel like there's a very positive forward momentum, but there's lots of choices. And I think for many of you, your relationships and your career or money making, that kind of thing, are connected in some way. For some, in fact, I'm getting you may meet someone at work and you may make a decision to leave the workplace so that you can have the relationship, because you may be in a relationship where, or in a workplace where relationships are frowned on. Many corporations are like that. So there's some sort of connection, I think, between the two, but the energy feels really good. And I feel like you're in the driver's seat, literally, with the Chariot there around the choices for your work. But there's something that makes you have to expand yourself materially around this and shift potentially relationship energy. And it's interesting. I do think you're quite conservative about decisions that are material, because down here in well-being with the Ace reverse, this tells me again that there's some opportunity, and it could be some new relationship that has a connection, as I say, but there's some opportunity. Aces are always blessings, even if they're reversed, but when they're reversed, there's a kind of a reluctance to fully take on and move forward, until other things come into play. And with the two of Swords reverse here, it's like it's hard to make a decision. I think that these are all connected somehow. Like it's like you're trying to work out something around your business, your career, your finances, who you are in the world, and then what you would commit to in terms of a relationship. Opportunities are there. Now, I feel like saying this is a good problem to have, because I don't feel like you ultimately have anything to worry about, particularly with the Star here. It's like ultimately this is all for your good. There's some really good new energy coming through. I just feel like you like to be a little bit conservative and slow, and I don't mean that in conservative as in politically, and I don't mean slow as in intellectually. I think you just like to be very considered about what you do. So I think there's a lot of great energy coming in, but you're trying to work out how you balance the material and the kind of almost sort of emotional energies associated with this. And it's very interesting, again, spiritually, with the Fool turning up here around your career, it's like with the World here spiritually, you've completed a cycle. You've gone up a particular level, you've understood something spiritually, and I think it's what's opening this up. You're starting to see what your true potential is, what your true North Star is, and it is a good energy. You're optimistic but careful. But you know that you've sort of reached this level. You've kind of got to another level around manifestation, and you're no longer in a situation. There's something about all of this where you're not as beholden to others. So it may be, as I say, stepping up into a managerial sort of position, or running your own business or something like that. It's your choice about what you want to commit to. It's you deciding, when and how to make the decisions that will make you happiest. And it seems to be coming maybe from the fact that you've stepped up the ladder spiritually. It's if you have been staying, I almost felt like saying you've graduated spiritually here on some level, and there's new energy coming in as a result. For some of you, it may be through the spirituality that's bringing through the new, there's a new love potentially, as I say, that you've got to decide, how do I fit this into my material world? But it's like endings and beginnings, but it's a very, very positive energy around this. I feel like saying it's a really good year to do a New Year's resolution about what do you want materially, what would be your North Star, what would make you happiest. Because I feel like you can bring that in, but you don't tend to to do that. You tend to kind of like just build slowly and surely and make sure that, everything is right. I feel like aim high this year. There's a lot of really strong energy. So let's see, just with some pre-shuffled, and so I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, the astrology energy that is around this. It might also tell us whether there's kind of other connections between the areas. So around relationships, we have Saturn. Yeah, this is all about, what do you commit to? What are you going to commit to? I think for many of you, you will go into a very strong, committed, long-term relationship, marriage, anything, something like that this year. But you make this decision, and it's your sort of maturity and your careful, steady approach that will really help. I do also think it could be bringing in, if you are in a relationship at the moment and something new is coming in, I feel like there's a sort of a karmic or a sort of spiritual connection to it, very long term, maybe very much past life. But you're making some serious decisions about relationships in the next 12 months. In terms of your career, Virgo. Okay, so this is consolidating. Virgo is kind of a Four of Pentacles energy in a way, in the sense of like, I'm consolidated, I've got the foundation, I've got it already. Virgo may find it a little bit tricky to suddenly be galloping fast with the Chariot, but what you can do is use your really great planning skills, your really great sort of like, you'd be a great project manager, a great program manager, any of those sort of things. You don't have to be doing that in your career, but you've got that ability. You can actually plan, and it's like you have the patience to do this. It's just, I think there's opportunities that come in very fast, but if you apply those things, you'll be able to manage it. You'll be able to see the cycles and so forth and feel very connected. For some of you, there are Virgoan sort of things around career, so health and as I say, project management, program management, planning, logistics, any of those sort of things could apply. In your well-being, we have the 4th house, who you are at home, who you are at your core too. This is why the star is there. What is the real star that you want to follow? What is your North Star? What is your overall aims? Some of you, I think, may, as a result of all these things, either through a career change or a relationship change, may move house, may literally move house in this year. And you're like, so, or you may move a couple of times. There might be a kind of like a period of time where you're not sure where you're living, or you're living almost out of a suitcase because of a lot of activity in your workplace and a lot of sort of travel. But there's something about working out who you are at home. That's how you make the decision. What would make you happier in your home and within your core self? That's the energy to look at, because that will help you make all these other decisions. And then spiritually, we have Pisces, very strong psychic energy, very psychic. This, I say, you've graduated on some level. New psychic abilities might be coming through. We will be sort of looking at that kind of energy a little bit later in the reading. But there's also great empathy, and you could draw in, as I say, for some of you, new love that Pisces is important for. It could be that they are a Pisces or they have Pisces strongly in their chart. But I feel like this is sort of in the numinous and in the collective unconscious. This is very much in the material world. This is kind of the balance for you that helps you make decisions about who you truly are and how you actually manifest that in the world. But there's a lot of really positive energy coming through. So let's look at it on a month-by-month basis. So we're using a different tarot for that. And the reason I want to do that is in case any of the same cards come up, because it'll point that month particularly towards the aspect that we've been looking at. So I'm just going to literally do one at a time. I'm going to start as though I was starting in the ascendant of an astrology chart and go around, but this will be, if you are watching this for 2023, it will be January and then each month. So that's how I'll talk about it. But as I say, if you're watching this as another time, just think of the first one as the upcoming month and then the rest as it goes through. So we're asking Spirit for a primary piece of advice or energy to be aware of for January, or the first month, as I say, of the next 12 months. Temperance reverse. Okay, so yeah, you're right out the gate with this. This is, you will feel not particularly balanced because you like to know what you're doing. You like to plan. You like to be precise about things. And there's a lot of stuff happening. And it kind of like straight out of the gate. For many of you, some of the energies for this have probably already started to be in place during 2022. So you will feel a little bit unbalanced at first. This is why it's important. What would you want to commit to? What would you want to be in your home, really? What's the structure that you want? Because there's a lot of energy coming in, particularly emotionally and psychically for you. So I think it's okay for temperance to be reversed. It's just to understand this is natural for you because it's sort of a bit overwhelming, but you also, the very thing that makes it overwhelming for you gives you the skills to actually deal with it. Okay, so for February, 10 of Wands, yeah, there's a lot of work, a lot of energy. I think by February, once you're starting to make these decisions, you start committing and moving forward. Do make sure you get plenty of rest. This could be partly also the Ace of Pentacles reversed in your sort of area of well-being. You could neglect yourself physically to some extent. So be aware there's a lot of energy coming through, a lot of work, a lot of decisions. Make sure that you get plenty of rest. I often feel too, and this will be a bit specific, but 10 of Wands often means things like backaches and things like that. So make sure you don't overexert yourself physically, or that, you get some massages occasionally, or sort of soak yourself in an Epsom salts bath, that kind of thing, because there's a lot of work, a lot of energy in February. By March, you can have a little bit of a rest. Okay, so there's something. I feel that for some of you, you're going to travel quite a bit for work, or you're going to be in kind of like, as I say, if you were doing project management, program management, consultancy, any of those sort of things, or even establishing a business, I think there will be stop and start periods. And so it's almost like you could be living out of a suitcase and then you're home again. Like there's a sense of after February when you put a lot of effort in there is time to rest. Now, worst case scenario, and I'm just going to say it so people know, is if you burn yourself out, you may actually have to spend quite a bit of time getting over that in March. So make sure that you're aware of that and how you're using your energy. Let this be a meditative, nice energy for you, not a kind of a sense of, suddenly sort of needing to sleep more and not work and that kind of thing. April, 8 of Cups reversed. Okay, this is where I think the rubber's going to hit the road a bit about what you've decided around relationships. For those of you who maybe don't commit, then you might be sorting through the emotion around that. You might find the other person doesn't want to let go and that you're kind of influenced a bit by that. If it's not you deciding to do that, it might be you really starting to determine what emotional patterns are going to work for you and not, what you could commit to, what you need to let go of. So I think there's a big emotional focus. This feels like a work focus. This feels like an emotional focus and letting go of patterns that are no longer serving you. And it may help you make this decision, because I think for many of you there's a kind of a decision about how your relationships connect into what you do with your career and even your spiritual path. So January, February, March, April. Let's look at May. King of Wands. Okay. So if you aren't already in a relationship and a passionate one, or if you have been deciding whether to make a friendship into that, I think by about May there'll be a decision about that. There's also a possibility that having put a lot of energy into something, particularly if it's creative, you really start to get recognition by May. You are standing out, you are leading forward, which potentially brings even more opportunities for you. But there's a sense of passion, creativity, establishment, leadership, all of those sort of things happening by May. Then in June, okay, then you start to worry about things. There's something that's going to make you worry in June. So it could be that bringing in a lot of like recognition, stepping up into a new management position, making a commitment to a passionate relationship, whatever it is, you start to kind of almost worry about it. Virgo, and I know this because I have a lot of Virgo in my chart, I sort of say that I could worry for the Olympics, that, like if there was an Olympic sport and worrying, I would get gold for my country every time. There's something about that. So I think Nine of Swords does not necessarily mean that things are bad. It's just that you can imagine that they're bad. So I think there's something in the response to what feels like success or passion that triggers in you by the next month, this sort of sense of like worry. So I think the more that you can establish what you want at home and in terms of like planning, the more you can mitigate that. Like I feel that for most of you, knowing about this, you can be ready for it and actually relieve that anxiety. If you don't think about that, then the anxiety could be relieved by planning on a very practical level. So January, February, March, April, May, June. So then when we get to July, okay, there's something that you'll be called upon to make a decision on. You probably don't want to make it right at that time. And you have a little bit of time. Now with judgment is the calling. There's something that's calling. But the fact that it's reversed, what I would say is when judgment comes upright, it usually is an opportunity or something or a calling. And if you don't follow that and make a decision, no decision becomes a decision of no, effectively. So there could be that you have done very well, you're offered a new job, you're really trying to figure out whether or not you want to take it on and how it's going to impact your home life and how it's going to impact your love life. And this could be sort of worrying and sorting through that. And it looks as though you're delaying a decision. You can do it for a little while, whatever this decision is, but if you do it for too long, the opportunity passes, whatever that means to you. It's sort of like There is a little bit more time than Judgment upright would give you, but there is a kind of a necessity, and there is here in the wellbeing, you're sort of agitating over making decisions. Then we go to August. Okay, you've got the blank card. Something's coming in August that you don't expect. I feel generally, because this is a very positive energy, that it's positive, but it's not sort of something we're going to get details on. The blank card is always something that's coming out of the unmanifest, which right now when I'm reading, it's not even on the table. So whether it's in love, whether it's in, it could be in any area. I'm not even going to be able to tell you what area it's in, but something happens that you don't expect at that point. I feel like it's okay. I don't feel like it's bad, but I think that that's why it's important to have made these decisions. Because it's almost as though, say for argument's sake, this was making a decision about taking a new job. This potential for whatever this is, I would then say is coming out of taking the job if you do it. If you don't do it, then maybe even whatever this is goes away, but it's potentially connected. So there's something to be aware that it's a bit of a wild card coming up at that stage of the year. So January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, then September, 7 of Cups reversed. I think by then you'll be happy with the decisions you've made. You'll feel they were very pragmatic. You are a pragmatic person. It's not that you're unemotional. It's not that you don't love or care, but you are pragmatic. You know, this very earthy sort of energy. I think you feel like by then you've kind of started to make the decisions. You've got more information. Whatever the bit was that you didn't know has become clear to you, and you're starting to feel that you're making the decisions that are most pragmatic. January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. Okay, now the rubber's hitting the road on what you're ultimately going to commit to and what you think is really going to work for you. So it's interesting, it's 2 sevens in a row here. It's like, these are pivotal points about what is real, really. 7 of Cups, when it's upright, it's what's real of your dreams. 7 of Pentacles is what will return an investment. I think that you're going to find there's sort of something, having gone through all this, where you recalibrate where your energy is, whether it's around a relationship, whether it's around what you do spiritually, whether it's in a career. I think there's a point where you go, there's something in this repertoire that's not returning what I wanted it to return, and so it's time to sort of think about what to close out. November, 7 of Swords, 3 sevens in a row. Wow. This is really about strategy. That this whole period of time, you know, so sort of September, October, November, in this next 12 months, all those months in the next 12 months, this is about strategy, and you've worked out the strategy by then. You've worked out the strategy by then. It is possible with that you have to really double check everything, particularly if this is around material stuff, to make sure that, you know, contracts are okay and everything, because 7 of Swords can be tricky energy. But I feel with those 3 sevens in a row, what it is saying is that you're sorting out these things, what you really want to what you feel is really going to have a return for you, what you feel is pragmatic emotionally. By the time we get to 7 of Swords, you really negotiate strongly. You're in a strong, your mind really works really well for you. Where you were worried back here, by that time, you've worked out your game plan, you've worked out your strategy. And then by December, 8 of Swords, yeah, and then you release yourself from the worry. So there's a kind of a big sort of change, trying to sort out where you put your energy, thinking about what it means emotionally and in terms of your passion, your creativity, that hits a bit of a point here. So January, February, March, April, May, by June, where you kind of worry a bit about it. But once you start to make decisions, and whatever this wild card is comes in, you really get yourself to a position where you know what you're doing, and then you release this energy. So there's a whole thing for you in the next 12 months or in 2023 about establishing what you want to commit to and where you want to put your energy. There are lots of opportunities, both emotionally or spiritually, emotionally, and in terms of career. And that's why it's important to work out what you want at home, what your North Star is. Okay, so let's have a look at just general energies around life as such. So I'm using the Heart Code Oracles for this part of the reading. And these have sort of relationship, career and finance, lifestyle and well-being. So I'm just wanting to look at, and this will either be things to really leverage and use, energies to leverage and use, or if they're tricky energies, ones to be aware of to help you navigate what I think is a little bit of a, not a crisis, but a thing of really determining what matters to you. So with relationship energy, bond, yeah, this is all about what are you going to commit to? What are you going to commit to? And I think if you want to commit, it's there. That's why I'm feeling like you will get to decide this. Around career and finance, approval, exploit. Okay, all right. This is whatever this is. You will move up the ladder. You will get approval. If you're looking for loans or things like that, you're going to get that, all of that. But I think there's a point at which you're going to go, I'm not getting the return I want. You'll renegotiate it or free yourself, move on. So it's almost as though you may get a new job opportunity. Hard work seems to sort of settle out. You're stepping ahead, and then you're starting to worry about whether or not this is truly giving you the return you should. And I think by later in the year, you'll have made the decisions to either renegotiate that where you are or to move on. Lifestyle message. Okay. So something's coming through to you. I think this is the sort of like the Piscean thing. I think this is coming through spiritually. There's some sort of message or information. I think this might be connected to whatever this wild card is. There's something that will come in that is an unexpected thing, and it has an impact on your choices and what you're prepared to commit to and put energy into. And then wellness, tension. Yeah, there is some tension, particularly, well, actually almost from the beginning. There's a lot happening for you. I think it is positive, but there's a lot happening for you, and you're going to have to like use this meticulous, clever, well-structured mind to work out as the year progresses, as you get more information, what you're going to sort of really commit to long-term, whether it's relationships or career. I think quite a bit of it's career, but I also think there's going to be a question about a relationship in this next 12 months in 2023. Okay, so let's get you a spirit team to help you with this. So we're going to get a power animal, a divine feminine energy, and also an archangel. So it's just energies to be helping you and watching over you, and also again focusing where to put your energy over 2023 or the next 12 months. Honeybee, reciprocity. Yeah, this makes sense. The honeybee and the bees, of course, work incredibly well together, and I do think there's a lot of hard work. They're hard working too. There's hard work, there's energy, there's building things, and a lot of momentum around your career. But they will help you decide in the end what is the right return on investment, what are the people that are worth working with and committing to on that level. And even in personal relationships, love relationships, where is the balance there? Where is there a reciprocal energy? Okay, let's get you a divine feminine spirit guide. Ishtar. Oh wow. Yeah, a lot of power. You're coming into a lot of power, a lot of creative power, a lot of sort of leadership power. There's also, like your power and your sexuality. There may be an issue actually with Saturn there in the relationship area with the King of Wands here. One of the issues for some of you I'm getting may be that you bring in or draw in, if you haven't already done it, a relationship that is very much kind of on a similar level to you, but there may be a little bit of a power, a lot of passion, but a little bit of a power clash. Doesn't mean you can't work it through, but that may be one of the things. In the end, is this going to be something that's reciprocal and enjoys your power, or is it going to be an energy that tries to limit your power? And that may be how you make your decision. And Ishtar will help you with that. Now let's see about an archangel energy for you as well. Mirabiel. Okay, I think she's your balancing force, really, because I feel like, particularly with this Four of Pentacles here, and with this sort of sense Saturn, Virgo, I think you are someone who likes to sort of plan and be in control and kind of know what's coming next. And there's a certain number of things that are going to come out of the woodwork in this next 12 months for you. I think they're good, but particularly with that blank card and the sense of momentum around career and the sense of choice around relationships, I think things are going to come up that are going to challenge you to somehow balance your need for structure and planning and using all those skills, because they're good, with also being in the flow. So there is something around this. And I think the clue really is in owning your power to share it with the right people and to flow with the right people, but using that same power and that same degree of planning to divest any energy and people that are not working for you going forward. Okay, so let's look at what spiritual gifts and energy are also around you in this period of time to help. So I'm going to get a couple of spiritual gifts cards, and then I'm going to get a couple of cards from the Life Soul Oracle about general spiritual energies that will also support a period of assessment, planning, change, and forward momentum, which is really what this energy is about for you, Pile 1. So firstly, we have maternal side. Okay, there's something on your maternal side in terms of spiritual gifts. It may be your own mother has the gifts, or it might be something on her side. Maybe look into that. And it's also very much this feminine power. You don't have to be a woman for this. It doesn't matter what your gender is or what you identify with. It's just the divine feminine energy. And TV news media, okay, you're meant to be seen in some way. You're meant to get a message out in some way. It doesn't have to be on TV, news or media, but there's a number of cards in this deck that are around that. So there is something like that. I think that you have a message to say, I feel like you've graduated in some way, so you can bring a message out. It also fits, like some of you may literally work in the media actually, because it sort of fits with the energy of like sometimes it's really, really busy and like full on, and other times it's a bit quieter. It's a bit like the news cycle. So for some of you, there might be some sort of like work within media in some way that works for you, or that you use to advertise what you're doing. That's the other thing that this could be saying. Okay, let's get a couple of other spiritual energies for you. Waves crash and stars fall. Okay, I feel like putting that there with the star here. It's a lot of change. There is actually a lot of change. I think that you ultimately can deal with change well because you can plan and structure and make decisions pretty well, but there's a lot coming up. So I think this is why you've got Mirabelle. It's like being able to go with the flow and not kind of get stuck and worrying about it so that you can make the most. This is definitely a sense of like sometimes change happens because it clears everything away. So I think that is an energy to work with. And 32 goes to 5. There's a little bit of internal, tension around all of it, but that's all right as long as you use your skills to help you through and you don't allow yourself to get stuck, then the energy should work for you. And Queen of Earth, yeah, this is who you are. I don't know whether you're a strong earth sign or have earth sign strong in your chart. You could well be, but there is a material outcome to this, potentially a committed relationship. Definitely, I think, sort of like moving forward with career or business. This is a time to consolidate and manifest, but it's like there's a lot. There's a lot of energy coming through. I think you would find that there's some pretty major transits operating in your chart, your astrology chart, if you have it. And speaking of such, let's just get some astrology or numerology energy also about 2023 for you. Aquarius. Yeah, a little bit of detachment. A little bit of detachment can help here. And using that earthy energy, but using it kind of to get a strategy, getting a strategy. Once you are feeling you have a strategy, and it might take you quite a bit of the year, so don't give yourself too much pressure. Just go with the flow. Information is going to come in as the year goes on that'll make it easier and easier to do it. But a certain degree of detachment and knowing that, trusting that things are working out in the right direction and you'll get the information when you need it would be helpful. New moon. I think this is whenever you feel overwhelmed, go within, and as I say, January, February, March, it may well be a period of time to particularly look at this. But this is when you withdraw and you reflect. Don't feel rushed to make decisions, actually. I think your timing will be fine, because of the way that you're quite precise, but don't let people rush, give yourself time out. I think you're going to be very in demand on all sorts of levels, and I think you've got to determine where you want to meet that demand and where you want to have a little bit more liberty. And the moon, the moon cycles are going to be very important to you. So the new moon, but all moon cycles, pay attention to that. Pay attention to what's going on. There's plenty of astrology. If you're not an astrologer, there's plenty of astrology channels on YouTube that you can sort of see when moon cycles come through. It's plenty of pick a card readers that I do it sometimes, and many do it quite often around sort of moon cycles. So there'll be information for you. Pay attention to that. This is the Pisces. You're very psychic, actually. A lot of this is coming in. A lot of this you'll kind of know is coming in before it hits, but it's still for you, in the world, you're meant to manifest it. So there will be cycles with the moon that will help you do that. Okay, so to finish off, I just wanted to have a bit of fun. So this is the last couple of cards that were intuitively shuffled and chosen for this reading. So it's sort of like, what's the soundtrack of your life for 2023 or the next 12 months? So it's two musical icons and their advice for you. So you have Cher, wow, and Elvis Presley. Yeah, it was definitely you could be the king, you could be, or queen, king or queen, you could definitely be that. You're moving up. And you could be known, if you want to be known, there's a real energy around that. In terms of a lot of energy around both of their sort of music, a lot of sort of upbeat sort of energy, but also soulful. So that there's that kind of energy around all this, connecting to your soul, but there's a momentum. They both do music that has momentum. Their advice to you, and this could be humorous or it could be profound, so take what works for you. Cher says, nothing becomes a legend more than not giving a damn. Yeah, it's kind of like you do need to be a little bit detached and work out what works for you and not for everybody else. She said, bad taste trumps no taste any day. So yeah, own your own decisions. Some people might think, oh, why are you doing what are you doing? But do what makes sense to you. And she says, lovers come and lovers go, but sequins are forever. Okay, I think that's just amusing. Elvis Presley says, you are king. Yeah, you are moving up. You're graduating on all kinds of levels. He says, never let reality stand in your way. So there's something that's coming through with that Piscean energy. There's something that you may not even fully see. How can I manifest this? But believe, because you can. And he says, always keep heaven on speed dial. Yeah, again, your spiritual psychic ability and your connection, to the moon and those sort of cycles are going to be important to you. So this is a big year for you, pole one, but I think it's a positive one, but I think it does have some pressures, and they're pressures of choice and value and what you want to commit to long term. So give yourself the time that you need. Stay in the flow, particularly get Miria BL to help you with that. And really kind of make an assessment on where is there reciprocity and where are you allowed to be fully in your power. Anywhere where that isn't the case, it's not ultimately with the Seven of Pentacles reverse going to give you what you deserve. You need to be strategic about it, and a bit Aquarian with the Seven of Swords as well. So I hope that resonates. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear about it. But beyond that, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, Pole 2, to your reading. So this spread is picking up the various areas of your life, as I said in the introduction. So love and relationships, career and finance, general well-being, and spiritual energy. We have some other cards that were shuffled and intuitively chosen for this reading to sort of see other elements as we go through. So they'll come up as we progress. But this is to give the kind of themes in those areas over 2023 or the next 12 months, depending upon when you're watching this. So firstly, around love and relationships, I do think that when you're coming to this reading, if you come to the right reading, you've had a disappointment in the not too distant past around relationships, and you're coming out of the energy of that disappointment, but it has taken time. And it does take time, don't be hard on yourself. But there's still at this point, I think there's some residual disappointment, but something's coming in. And you're not sure at first, I think, whether you want to dive in again with the Two of Cups reversed. So with the Page of Wands, there's definitely an attraction operating. So you're definitely sort of like thinking there is something here. But I think because there's still some residual energy, you're not sure. For some of you, it could be the return of an ex. And this may be why you're not sure. I am getting that for some of you, there was a disappointment, you're just about over it, and then the person's suddenly back. That's possible. And there is a definite sort of attraction operating here, but I think it's whether it's someone new or whether it's an ex coming back, you look like for a period of time at least, I feel like this is showing energy pretty early in the next 12 months for you. You're kind of indecisive. So we will see what else there is. Now, if you are already in a relationship that's settled, it may be around a friendship, like there could have been a friendship that really disappointed you, and maybe there was a kind of creative competition and there's a new opportunity coming in there, or again, a return, a kind of resolution potential. It just has a feeling of there's real potential. I'm not necessarily saying that whatever this is, you shouldn't do. I just feel that you are still resolving something. And as such, you're going to be a little bit unsure, at least initially. So it'll be interesting to see. There'll be a later part of this reading where we use the other tarot where we look at month by month. It'll be interesting to see what relationship energy tends to come up there, because it might give us a bit of a time frame for when you resolve this. Around career, there's some big changes. Some of you may leave a workplace with Knight of Pentacles reversed, or you may be in work that is sporadic. You might be a consultant, you might do your own business and work comes and goes. There's sort of something, or you might do a lot of contract work. Nothing wrong with any of that. In fact, I think in a way at the moment that kind of thing might suit you, because with the Tower reverse, it's like you're restructuring, you're really thinking through what you want for your career and how to make money and what that would look like. And it's almost like a good way to use Tower reversed energy, because Tower reverse is that changes are going on, but you're kind of in control of them. You can sort of make decisions and incrementally change things. For some of you, you might be in a workplace that's going through restructuring and you are not sure. It's a bit like you're not sure whether you want to commit over here, whether you want to commit to the new vision potentially. The good thing is that you are going to have a really good, spiritual instinct around this. Your gut instinct about what to do and when to act is really on point. So if it is ultimately to leave, then you will know the right point to do it. If it's ultimately to see this through and see what the changes are and then make that decision, you're going to be very on point with that. You're very materially connected actually spiritually. Like I think you have a spiritual connection. Either you do maybe something spiritual for your career or to make money in some way, or there is a direct connection. You have this sort of like this instinct for how to kind of build and invest and make the right decisions. I think you're very clever when it comes to that. Clever with money, clever with your career. You just have a really good instinct and you should pay attention to that. Your judgment's really on point actually. When you have to make decisions, you kind of go to your spiritual area here and it's saying it's very on point, particularly when there's decisions you have to make quickly or that you feel have sort of karmic or kind of spiritual implications. You see the consequences of things. You're not sort of like off with the pixies about it. You really do see the consequences of things. Hence, you can make the decisions, even if you don't have all the information, because psychically you kind of do anyway. Some of you would be very, very good at reading the stock market or knowing what was going to be successful in an industry or what organizations were going to be successful. There's a connection between your psychic ability and your capacity to make judgments, very clear, quick, good judgments that have a return for you, and whatever is going on here around career and finance. Well-being too ultimately is good. Wheel of Fortune, good fortune and everything. Some things you're shifting or changing, and it may connect to the career thing if you do eventually move on or that you change. There's some cycles around that are finishing, but you may have been depleting your own energy. Think about things like, are you getting the right food, the right sleep, all of that kind of thing. For some of you, again, this is very specific. This year you may have a child or something like that. And it's very fortunate. It's what you want, but do look after your own energy as well too. It may be that with other demands on your life, there's issues with that. So there's something around that. There's something around nurturing of self that's important. So if you are in a nurturing role because you've started a family, whether you're the mother or father, whatever is the situation there, that's not really the point. You could be in a sort of same-sex relationship. I'm not talking about gender here, but if you are taking on a nurturing role, make sure you nurture yourself. But otherwise, your well-being looks good. Looks like you know how to close out things when it's necessary. So even around this emotional side of things, when you're not sure, you do make decisions really well. You're very psychically attuned to making good decisions. So I feel like there's sort of shifting and a little bit of like, am I going to change? Am I going to move? A little bit of like flexibility around career. There's something about consolidating and really bringing in good energy and thinking about nurturing yourself and that balance. And as I say, using your psychic ability and something a little bit unresolved emotionally going on. So let's have a look with astrology cards. So one for each of these. So this might also tell us a little bit about how things are connected, but it's another bit of energy around this theme. So for relationships for you, the 11th house. Okay, for many of you, this could be about a friendship. It could be about a friendship. It could be, do I turn a friendship into a love relationship? Or it could be, a friend that let you down and you're going to let them back in. Or a friend that let you down, now there's a new sort of offer around you. Similarly, is that something that you want? For some of you, it could also be playing out around relationships on social media. And there, again, you could have been burnt by something and there's a new opportunity and you're just not sure about it. If it is a love relationship coming in, it's likely to come in either through something like social media or it's coming in through your friendship circle. So, and yeah, I think in both cases, in some ways that's good because those sort of energies allow you a little bit of a time to work out what you want to do. It's sort of like if it comes through friends, you may meet through friends and you have a chance to operate on that level. If it's through social media, you can have sort of like those boundaries around that to work out what you want. But it's connected somehow to your social life. In the career, we have Venus. Okay. So many of you might do careers that have Venus type energies, things around relationship counseling, things around art, beauty, music, all of those kind of things. You could be very, very creative. It is definitely saying that you should focus on what you love. And if you're not doing what you love and you can't incrementally change it, then you don't have to be committed to it. It might be just a short-term thing. There's a tilt towards you finding out and moving towards what you love. because, as I say, you have a really good sense of consequences. You know the timing. So, for instance, if you were in a conventional job, but you're actually a kind of creative artist, you could maybe incrementally change in this period of time from doing full-time to part-time, for instance, so that you have the time to pursue what you want. There's a strategy to what you do. But this is meant to be, you are meant to be starting to think more about making money and having a career in things that you love. And this year is a good opportunity to start moving towards that. Around your well-being, we have Chiron. Okay, yeah, there's a heal yourself energy here. Now, some of this could be connected to whatever this relationship energy is. It could be that you nurture everybody else and you can help everybody else move into a new cycle. That's great, but it's hard to do it for yourself. Chiron is about healing. So it is, and if you have any health issues, it's a very good sign here. Again, also the completion of that. But it might be if you do have health issues that it's like you get over whatever this is, because there's a lot of very fortunate energy, but then you're kind of a bit depleted and you need to look after yourself. But Chiron is called the wounded healer. He could heal everybody but himself. So I do think there is a thing here about giving yourself the same support that you would give other people. And then here's spiritually, Sagittarius, freedom to do what you want, freedom to choose what you want, and momentum. Very, very spiritually oriented in what you do. And that's how you make your choices. You know, it's how you decide. What is really lovely about this energy is you're very, very, you know yourself very, very well. Very, very well. And you know the consequences of things very, very well. That's why you could have the freedom to go towards what you love, because you understand the consequences of it and how to make it happen. It's not sort of like off with the pixies, as I say. You're very grounded about all that, but freedom is important to you. So that is something, it may be part of the mantra that you need for this next 12 months. You know, how can I do what I love? You know, how can I find the right connections? How can I nurture myself so that I am free to really expand and grow? Because that's a wonderful sign to have in, you know, the theme area of spirituality. It's in its natural space in many ways in terms of philosophy and spiritual belief and expansion and so forth. Okay, so let's see how this plays out month by month. So what I'm doing with this tarot is I'm going to do one card for each month, starting in January if you're watching this for 2023. If you're watching this at some later time and it's the next 12 months, just think of January as the first month and onwards from there. So we're just looking at one key energy that's going to really manifest around each month. So for January, or the first of the next 12 months, you have Ace of Swords reverse. Okay, so there's new ideas coming in. You don't have to make decisions about this instantly. If this is about relationship, give it time. If it's around this, you can restructure, you can like do it gradually. If it is around well-being, then there is sort of something where you're putting too much of a pressure on yourself in terms of self-regulation. You need the sort of freedom energy of this. But if you go into your spirituality, you'll get there. Aces are always blessings, but they're not triggered immediately, or you could be suppressing them a bit consciously or unconsciously when they're reversed. So I just feel like there's a new idea, but I think you've got to give yourself time in this year to work out what that is. You know, you take it step by step so that you know that you get the return. For February, okay. Whatever this relationship thing is, I reckon it solves itself pretty quickly. So as I say, I felt like it's sort of like either already here, it happens very fast and it connects to things that have happened before. This is a very good card around relationship, around deciding what to commit to, around happy home, happy family. Certainly if you are sort of like looking to start a family, as I say, anything like that, very, very good. If you're looking to commit after sort of being disappointed before, very, very good. Very nice energy, and nice energy around friendships as well. So February looks like a very positive, sort of consolidated time emotionally for you. In March, you might want a little bit of time out. You know, I literally think some of you may get married. Like this looks like, and this could be the choice, like, do I do it? You know, do I commit? You know, like the passion is there, but, you know, like, is it going to work out and so forth? But literally that can be a card of marriage, and you can see how it's depicted there. And then you have the Four of Swords. It's like the month where there's all the festivities, and then there's the month when you're just quietly at home getting over the wedding and all of that sort of stuff and so forth. So there's an energy for some of you around that. Otherwise, it's kind of like, I think there's a lot of growth around your connections with other people. By March, there's a time to contemplate and think through your next steps. More information is coming through. You're at a point where you start to make more decisions. Then in April, okay, so in April, this is when you decide what you're ultimately going to commit to. If this has not been you already committing to a relationship, you make the decision then. And it may be that if you haven't decided early to commit to whatever this is, you make the decision not to do it with the Queen of Pentacles reversed. But there's an issue around that. There's a shift for you into something new that is material. So it could be a new health program. You're leaving behind what you've done before because it isn't fully nourishing in you, and you're sort of bringing in something better. But it could also be, changing your workplace at this time. If you've been working this through, that might be the point in which you change or make a decision about whether you're going to commit or not. January, February, March, April, so then we go to May. Yeah, you don't want to make the decision immediately, but there is some decision around May that you do need to make. You could potentially go through to June to make it, because Judgment reversed it's a calling, but it allows you a little bit more time than if it was upright. But if you don't make the decision with Judgment, it's like you make the decision to know. So it's like there's something that's coming through, and I think it's going to connect to what you want to commit to, that you have got a little bit more time to decide, but not a lot more time. What I like for you, though, with these sort of energies is I think with Judgment here, you're very clear. You do know the right timing and the consequences of decisions. I don't think you'll falter. I don't think you'll make the wrong decision. If you don't make a decision by then it's probably the right decision not to do the thing. So I think it kind of works its way through. So then we get to June. That's interesting. I've got a feeling that card came up for June in one of the other readings. So this is when you start to worry. This is when you're second guessing yourself. So there's something, whether it's around a relationship or whether it's going to be around relationship or career, I think. It's like, whether it's like, to leave a workplace, whether it's you're committing to a relationship or whatever. And, whatever decisions you've made here, there's something around that. And I think that you do make the decision and then you start worrying about whether you've made the right decision. Trust yourself. Your instincts are really, really, really good. Nine of Swords is always like we worry when we don't really need to. And this is you starting to second guess yourself. Don't second guess yourself. If you've jumped into something, it was the right thing to do. If you've said no or said no by implicitly not deciding, don't worry, don't feel guilty, don't worry about it. You're very on point with the direction you're going in. You need to just back yourself. So then in July, wow, something's coming in that you won't even see coming. So this is really interesting. There's some similar energy to this, between the two, one of the other readings, and I riffle shuffle a lot in between. So this is not just, the cards sort of being next to each other in the deck from reading to reading. So there's something, the blank card is always something coming in that we don't expect, something that we couldn't see now. So it could be a job offer that doesn't exist at the moment. So you wouldn't be able to look it up and see it. And that would make sense in that sort of time period. July is a fair way away. Could be a sort of spiritual sort of download that helps you make other decisions. There's something there. There's a bit of a wild card that comes in at that stage. So about July. But don't worry. I mean, it's almost as though whatever you did here that maybe you vex yourself on, it was necessary to bring in something that you couldn't have planned for. So it's almost like give yourself a break, Pole 2. It's like whatever decision you make here, even if it is a decision not to decide, that in effect becomes a decision, don't give yourself a hard time. It's meant to bring something else in whatever way it is. And if you do make the decision, don't worry about the decision. It was really the right decision because it's to bring something else in. So then when we get to August, the High Priestess, then you'll have all the pieces certainly around your career to make all the longer term decisions. By then it will come in, whatever this piece is, and it may come in as a spiritual download. It may not be a material thing because you are very spiritually attuned, but you really know what you're doing at that space by then. Then when we get to September, King of Pentacles, okay, and that's when you commit to whatever it is. You're sort of consolidating, you're getting a return on investment. You sort of see it's all coming into focus, that anything you worried about, it was the right decisions because it was just something you didn't know, but you're really feeling consolidated by then. So January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. So then October, Three of Pentacles, okay, you're starting to sort of collaborate with others at that point. I feel like this is a very personal journey you have to go through, and you have to wait till this wild card comes in. Then by October, you're sort of starting to collaborate and build foundations with people in one or more aspects of your life. In November, you finally realise it was okay. It's going to take you a while. Like, what I find is interesting about this, Pole 2, and I think you would know this about yourself, is that you're very on point psychically. You actually don't make bad decisions for the most part. You have a really strong sense of consequential thinking, but I feel like you don't really credit yourself with it. It's only afterwards when you can see the evidence that you go, okay, all right, I was right. So it's sort of like you're starting to see you were right at this point, and by November you really do know, and any of that drama that's left has gone. You realise that yes, this is good. This is all fortunate. I'm ending things that I need to end. I'm starting things that I need to start. It's all coming together, and then by December you start to wonder whether or not you want to move on again. So you're a little bit. That's when this kicks in. You're a little bit kind of, I'll commit for a while but not forever sort of feeling. That's particularly around career, I think. I do think that for many of you, you might sort of like change what you're doing. Either you go part-time and you've fully brought this in by then so that you can do something more creative, or you are in a changeable, movable sort of role and you get comfortable with that. Actually, I can feel secure here. I don't have to worry. I've actually set this up in a way that works. So a good example of that would be, if you've been building your own business and you're in your first year, it could be that there are times when you think, oh, am I going to get any clients at all? Like you might get lots of clients here and then it might be quiet and you might be thinking, oh my God, is this going to actually work? And have I made the right decision? My goodness. Then something comes in that sort of ups the game. You go, yeah, I can see it. And then by here, you're kind of comfortable with the ebb and flow. That's an example of it. So there's something very material, but back yourself. Your instincts are really, really good. Okay, so let's also have a look at the energies with the Heart Code Oracles for the next 12 months. So this is around career and finance, relationships, and lifestyle and well-being. So this is either good things to leverage or energies that you need to be aware of and manage over this period of time. So for relationships, respect. Yeah, I think maybe one of the questions around whatever this disappointment was and any other relationship coming in is it one where you feel mutually respected, whether it's in friendships, whether it's in love relationships, all of that kind of thing. That's how you do what you love. That's how you connect in. You do respect other people, but I feel like you've been disappointed on that level. So this is a touchstone. Do you feel respected in the relationship? If so, it's one that's worth bringing into your life. Around career and finance. So for career, we have leadership. Yeah, so there is something about this. Leadership can be literally moving into some sort of leadership position, but if that's the case, I feel like it's almost one that still has this almost part-time, or it's more like a consultant, like a thought leader than necessarily being a manager per se, because there's just this feeling, you might hit management for a while and then sort of back off again. But thought leadership can be a very big thing. And I think because you were so good at seeing what's coming and then manifesting that into the material and helping to deal with change and everything, that could be something that you leverage. And then financially exit, yeah, I think you might leave somewhere, but it might be right at the end after you've established something else. Like this is what it feels like. It feels like gradually moving out of one thing to focus on another thing. And this is when you finally, by the 12 months, you're there, you've got the other business interest, the other role, whatever it is. But you're meant to be leading out. And I think there's a limitation to how much you'll be able to do that in the environment you're in. There's a new environment to move towards for most of you. Around lifestyle, we have confession. Okay, that's interesting. I feel that this is picking up this Empress reverse. I feel like you have to confess to yourself here. I don't think it's really confession to others, because I feel if anything, maybe others are going to confess to you something that helps you work out who to trust and who respects you. But I feel like this is you need to confess to yourself that you aren't looking after yourself as much as you look after other people. So it's something to think about. And then in terms of wellness, treatment, yeah, you may need to go and do something, and this doesn't have to be anything major. I don't feel like it's major. In fact, if you have been going through some sort of treatment, I think that's coming to a good end. You're actually arising out of it. But I think for most of you, it's more like, go and get a massage, spend a day in the spa, treat yourself the way that you would tell other people to treat themselves. Okay, so let's get you some spirit team. I'm going to get you an animal totem or a power animal, a divine feminine, and an archangel, and energies to watch over you in the next 12 months in 2023, pile 2. Sea turtle, stability. Now that's interesting, because I think there's a lot of change and a lot of adjustment. It feels like adjustment and change that is gradual, and you do have enough stability, I think, and Sea Turtle is here to help you with that, to do it at your pace and at your time and in your planning. But it's definitely like, I think it's going from one way of doing things, particularly around career, into some other form of stability or some other form of feeling comfortable. If it's around relationships, then I think it is tilting towards you deciding to sort of have a committed relationship. Let's see the divine feminine energy around you. Sophia, lots of wisdom. Yeah, you do. You're very wise. This is wisdom, really. This is not just, like having a sort of spiritual download or whatever. Sophia, like seeing how this manifests and being able to make really clear judgments is wisdom. So Sophia is with you to bring wisdom. She is the sort of divine feminine aspect of wisdom, and talks about divine light, gnosis, which is knowledge and wisdom, Holy Spirit, very, very connected to the upper realms. But it's a wisdom. You bring a wisdom. And then the archangel that is around you. Oh, wow. Yeah, there's something creative, I think. Radiuriel, this is creativity. There's something about you moving towards something that you love more, and that's what is creative. Like, it could be starting a family, it could be doing something artistic. It doesn't have to be anything classically creative, but there's something about that. Radiuriel is getting you to write your own story, bring poetry and creativity, make the adjustments that you need to do that. That's why Radiuriel here is depicted as though it was Oscar Wilde, I always like when Radiuriel comes out in this deck, because Oscar's one of my personal heroes. So and that is about being true to oneself. He was true to himself, and he did suffer because of the age he was in. You don't have to suffer for this, but there is something about what do you love, and make that what this is about. Because you're very good at like manifestation and all that kind of thing, but you really do need to treat yourself to what is spiritually and emotionally right for you. Okay, to help you with that, let's see some spiritual gifts and spiritual energy as well. So some gifts that you could use this, or approaches that you could use sort of spiritually this year coming, pile 2. Angel numbers. Okay, pay attention to that sort of thing. Pay attention if you see 111, 222, 333, 888, those sorts of things. Maybe even get a book on angel numbers if you don't have it, and be able to look at it as a reference. There's going to be messages coming to you to help you. This is all part of your psychic, a sort of tuned inness, your psychic acuity. And Ascension Path 12. Yeah, you are very connected. This is all about, guiding other humans, other people towards things. So you become an example. It's because you understand the consequences of things. It makes you, if you wanted to do spiritual leadership in some way, you would be very effective at that, because it's practical as well as spiritually attuned. Okay, let's get you a couple of other spiritual energies from another deck. Sacred Soul Union. Okay. So for some of you, this whole thing around I think if there's a new relationship coming in, it's got a lot of potential. But give it its time, because you're getting over something. If it's somebody coming back, then it's maybe a bit like a twin flame thing, where it is tricky and you have to kind of like deal with it and so forth, and apply the same wisdom and love that you have over in these parts of your life into how you treat yourself, so that you are actually nurturing yourself, including with love. But for some of you, there's a very significant relationship this year. And for some of you, as I said, with the sort of month by month thing, I think you could get married, or at least whatever that means to you, that kind of level of commitment. And spirit line, spiritual strength. Yeah, you're very strong. Your spiritual ability is one of your really true strengths, really strong. And I think this is like fierceness and like leadership and courage. There's a lot of courage for you. Some of you may have Leo strongly in your chart as well. Okay, let's also get you astrology guidance, astrology and numerology. And for you with the angel numbers, numerology, if we get something there, would be important. So what do we get? Sagittarius again. Okay, this is very much saying everything for you comes from the spiritual. Trust that. You're very, very on point with that. And some of you may meant to be a spiritual teacher or leader, with Sagittarius coming up twice and the Ascension Path 12. Masculine. Okay, so you've got the divine feminine. You also need to think about action, decisions, what you do, all of that kind of thing. Get those things in balance. It's suggesting that they are pretty much in balance. Maybe not as much around relationship. And third house. How you communicate with, your creativity, the stories you have to tell, how you can help other people, sort of manifest and understand their sort of spiritual direction and goals. Okay, so that's all lovely. I think that your own spiritual abilities and nuance will help you make the right decisions, even though you'll probably vex about it a bit and wonder if you have. I do think for some of you, very significant love relationship coming in or returning, and for others, or maybe as well, there's some significant shifts around your material fortunes that I think you control and you decide, but it feels like it's more released and more free at the end, but still stable. Okay, so to finish off, there are also two cards from the Music Oracle. So this is kind of the soundtrack for your year ahead. So it could be amusing or it could be deep. So take whatever works for you, chuckle at whatever's just amusing and leave the rest. So you have Nick Cave. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, very, very psychically tuned in, I think. I've always thought he was very psychic. And Lou Reed. Okay, so you have a depth. I don't think you necessarily show this that much to people, but you have a depth, and you would probably like these sort of like darker, more sort of like inshallah sort of like music and so forth. I think people would almost be surprised about the music you listen to. I'm not saying you have to listen to these, but it's like there's a sort of an energy of exploring the depths around the music for you. And I think it's part of how you actually have this acuity to see consequences. So their advice to you, Nick Cave says, be sure to be the last guest at the cannibals' dinner party. Yeah, well, that's pretty good advice. Yeah, like make your choices in a considered way. Embrace your limitations to become a wonderful disaster. I think this is like, take the risks when you need to take them, because you will be okay. You're actually going to make really good decisions, but like sometimes you are going to have to wing it a bit because you're a little bit, because of the psychic thing, ahead of the curve. And then waiting for inspiration is just waiting. Yeah, sometimes you just need to make the decision and move, because you can always course correct. Lou Reed says, I think of you, but not that often. This might be picking up this energy around a relationship, and it might be about letting go of one so you can think about someone else. What would you think about? What is good for your heart? What do you love? He says, survive your own war. So yeah, make it your war, make it your decision. And he says, learn to work hand in hand with magic and loss. Yeah, I think the one thing that you have to deal with, pile 2, I think, is because you are so good at consequential thinking, because you do really see things coming, you probably give yourself a harder time if you're wrong. But every once in a while, something's going to be like that wild card with the blank card coming up. Something's going to happen, and it could be wonderful. I'm not saying that blank card's going to be bad, but sometimes you just don't have all the information you need. So even the most brilliant sort of like psychic, precognitive, prophetic person won't necessarily get everything all the time. That's part of the game of life. So I think you just need to be happy and back yourself going forward in this next 12 months in 2023, because I think there's a lot of opportunities, a lot of change for you. But yeah, don't sweat the small stuff, as they say in the classics. Just move forward and make the choices that work for you. So I hope that resonates. I hope that you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like and subscribe, and if you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile 3, to your reading. So what we have here are love and relationships, career and finance, general well-being, and spiritual energy. So it's sort of like themes for 2023 or the next 12 months, depending upon when you've come to this reading. And so we're going to look at these in general for kind of the overarching sense around that. We're going to use some of these cards which were under the Fool card that brought you to the reading. They're sort of shuffled and intuitively chosen astrology cards, like one for each, to get a little bit more information about sort of aspects of your life that are particularly accented in these areas. Then we're going to use a different tarot deck to do a month-by-month energy to sort of see what else we sort of find before we get you some advice from spirit guides and so forth. So generally this looks pretty good, though. There's a couple of interesting things. The spirit is very interesting, which I'll get to. When we have the Ace of Swords, we have Justice reverse and the Ten of Cups. This is a very specific thing. It's not going to apply to everybody, but for some of you, you may make a decision to sort of divorce or separate from a long-term relationship with this energy. It's possible. On the other hand, you may decide to separate from something that wasn't right to bring in a much better relationship energy. Or it could be both. It could be that you actually divorce or separate from someone because something much better is coming through, that it was not a relationship that was working. But it's just interesting. We've got two very positive cards, new way of thinking about things, new uprush of information around Ace of Swords, new idea, new inspiration, Aces always being blessings, particularly when they're upright, but they're blessings full stop anyway. And then the Ten of Cups, which suggests around relationships and everything, a great deal of happiness. But with the Justice card reversed, for some of you, you're going to find out something which resolves an issue, particularly, say for our argument's sake, you were competing for the affections of someone. You may find out that the other person was actually saying the wrong things about you or something, but you're going to come out on top. For others, if there is a separation, it's so that you can have something that is happier. It's the right thing to do. It's the new energy that's coming through. Or you may find a new person coming in that makes you finally have the courage to leave a relationship that wasn't balanced. But there's something around an injustice, or something maybe, as I say, being spoken about in a way that you shouldn't have been, or something like that is around this. But overall, the energy is very, very positive. So I feel like it's either you'll know what that is already and it's happened, or if there's something like that, it may just be like competition from people around somebody who you're meant to be with or whatever. So just be aware there could be some sneaky tactics or something like that. Over here around career, there's a really good fortunate energy coming in, but you may be a little bit hesitant. You don't want it to go too fast. With the Chariot reverse, it's sort of like, I can see all the potential, but like I really want to get my planning done right. And I think you can see this with the Page of Pentacles. You're going to plan well. When I see the Page of Pentacles, I always say, do a business case. I feel like you know how to do this. Like for your career and finances, there's some great opportunities coming through. But I think that you have a very temperate way of dealing with things. You don't want to rush too much. With the chariot reversed, you're making sure you don't make rash decisions, that it's all really well thought out so that you can maximize what you get out of this. So I think that's a very positive energy around career and finance. And for some of you, it may be much more around finance and like working out a stock portfolio or investments that you have, and you're taking it carefully because maybe it's a bit of a volatile environment, which it could well be. The way the economy is in 2022, 2023 is likely to be interesting as well. But it works really well for you. If it's around career, it's sort of like an opportunity that you build slowly, or a business that you build for yourself. That's very, very positive. Down here around well-being, you're getting your strength back after giving more than you receive. And so this may be this justice thing. You may have been in a relationship where it was all give, and now there's something coming through that shows you, in fact, you deserve so much more, and there is a much better relationship, and this gives you back your strength. Because this feels like with the Six of Pentacles reversed and the Five of Pentacles reversed, that there was almost like an imbalance in what you gave and what you received, because you didn't want to be alone. You thought that's what you had to do to be in a relationship, but was imbalanced in some way. But you're coming back to your strength. If you have been dealing with any sort of like health issues, they're likely to have been related to like almost constitutional stuff. Are you getting enough sleep? Are you getting good diet or whatever? But this is getting better, so that is good. Spiritual is interesting. There is a possibility that some of this energy may be because there's sort of like love and romance is connected to some form of spiritual group, or even this lack of reciprocity and energy could be that. This looks like you may have been, you realized, I think, that maybe you've been in some sort of spiritual group or spiritual discussions or spiritual community or a spiritual approach that is not what it appears with Page of Swords reversed. People who speak with forked tongue. It maybe tries to appear to be very nurturing, but it's actually the opposite. It's very controlling. And I think you're now starting to detach from it. So I do feel that for some of you, it could be, like, for instance, I'll just give you an example. You could have been in some sort of, and I know there's many good ones, so I'm not saying they were all like this, but you could have been in some sort of like spiritual community that looked at twin flames, and instead of it actually really helping you, it made you stay in a relationship that was not the best. And you then see something coming through that could be, and that's where you start to detach from that. It's just an example. So I'm not putting shade on all communities that look at twin flames. I think there are some very good ones and so forth, but it's just an example of something like that where it could connect. I don't think it's connecting as much around your career, but I think it is connecting to relationships and well-being. I think that there's a seismic shift you're going to go through spiritually where you start to nurture yourself a bit more. You start to realize there's something that's not quite right so that you can refocus and find your true North Star and so forth. So let's have a look at the Zodiac and other astrology cards. So this is meant to be one for each, just to see what else we can get around these themes. So in relation to relationships, Aries. Yeah, I think you're moving forward and making a decision for you, and it's new. I mean, it's interesting. Ace of Swords, the first card in the sort of like decision, set, like the swords in many ways are about decisions and information. Aries is the first sign. You're going to be a little bit more assertive, I think, around relationships. It brings you a better relationship, but it deals with something that was unjust. So there's something in that space, and having that ambition for what you want rather than what everybody else wants from you is the focus to have, pile 3. In relation to work and this sort of like energy, I think, towards, taking up some really good opportunities, but in a considered way, we have Vesta. So Vesta is all about kind of the stability, keeping the home fires burning, making sure that you sort of feel spiritually aligned. So there is a connection here. There could be, as you start to shift out of spirituality that isn't working for you, you start to really plan properly for what you could be committed to and what you really believe in. And there's a very strong connection to ethics. You are very ethical in what you do with your business, and that's why you don't rush in. You have a plan. Okay, here in relation to getting this back in balance, getting your strength back up to the right level, and not being so giving, because you're being too giving, pile 3. We have the moon. Yeah, it's a very emotional thing for you. People get to you, and this is probably also the psychic stuff through emotion. Don't let people guilt trip you. Like there are good connections coming in. Look, make your decisions to move towards those. It's a lot of emotional manipulation that you are moving out of in this period of time. And then around this sort of tricky spiritual energy, we have the sun. Yeah, isn't that interesting? The moon and the sun. Okay. But the sun says to me, you are finding your path rather than the path that others have tried to prescribe for you. I just think for most of you, you've been following something, and it doesn't necessarily mean, though I do think for some of you, you're in some sort of spiritual path where people are not living up to what they say. But even if it isn't as dark as that, I think that you've been following a path that's not your path. So, say you were following Reiki, but what you're actually meant to do is follow, I don't know, Orasoma or something. I don't know, I'm just trying to think of different sorts of things. There's something about finding that and what would really light up your life. The other thing I'm feeling too with the 10 of Cups here, Ace of Swords, and coming out of its energies, it could be because of very significant relationships coming in. So if you aren't already in a happy one, and this injustice stuff is sort of about something else that you need to, about people in general and the relationships in general, then I think there's a very significant relationship coming in, because sun and moon is always to me the alchemical marriage. And there's a connection between your well-being and your spirituality that brings that in. So there's something about the choices that you make in relation to that. Okay, so let's have a look month by month. So I'm going to use a different deck, and we're just going to start with January and go all the way around. But if you're watching this at some other time of the year, then just think of January as the first month coming up, and then the other 11 after that. So for the purposes of 2023, the energy around January is the Devil reverse. Yeah, liberation. I think it's liberating from relationships that weren't fair, from demands that weren't fair, and from something spiritual. I don't think so much around career. I think career is going to look after itself, really. But this is a call for liberation. You are meant to sort of take that energy up and move forward. In February, yeah, then you can follow your star. There really is early in the piece here. You know about this. You know what hasn't been fair and what hasn't been right. You're meant to liberate from that, because that then realigns you to what your star is, what you would really hold sacred. So by February, you're really starting to move in that direction. By March, could be a new job, new relationship, new home, something blessed around material things. I do think it could be around the work. I think there's a new opportunity or something coming in. And with Pentacles, because it's the Ace of Pentacles, and Pentacles take a little bit of time, that's the Chariot reverse. This is a good opportunity that you can allow to grow. Okay, so by April, Page of Swords, this is, I think, whatever maybe is in this energy, or if there is anything residual, if you haven't fully freed yourself from stuff, if people are still trying to cling on and trying to manipulate you, it's around about April that this is going to become clear. It's almost like you could leave a spiritual group, or you could leave a relationship, and you start to follow what you want and really get cooking with gas and moving this on, and then they kind of come back and they want to try and manipulate. So be aware of the communication that you're getting in April. By May, the sun, by May, you've gone past it. I do think for most of you this is around spiritual groups and so forth. You've moved past that. You've kind of recognized that. You've moved past that, and you're really starting to sort of head towards what you want. If you haven't met this person yet, I think it might be May. if it's a significant relationship. By June, King of Wands reverse. Yeah, I think some of you may have met and you want to take it a bit slow. The passion is there, but you're not sure by June, is this going to be the one? Because I think something's happened before, or you're getting, interference from others or whatever. There could even be illegitimate competition that you just need to be aware of. I think you're going to come out okay with it, but I feel like, this is around the time of the year where if a new relationship is coming in, it's sort of like there's the wonderful glory of it, and then there's the uncertainty that comes as relationships sort of build. So January, February, March, April, May, June. So July, High Priestess, you've come into your own psychically, spiritually. I think by that point you've cleared out anything, and you'll know whether this is the right relationship, you'll know whether it's a kind of like a divine union, all that sort of stuff. Your psychic ability is really coming into play by July. Then August, this is funny, this card's come up in every single one, in different houses, but this card is the card of anxiety, and it's really interesting where it follows. I think it's what it's following that you have anxiety about. Nine of Swords does not mean anything awful is happening. It just means that we start to second guess ourselves. So I feel like what happens with this is you liberate yourself, you start to get on board, you bring in this energy, then people are starting to try and like trip you up and beguile you back into things that didn't work. You go, no, I know what my direction is. Then you sort of like find something, a relationship or something like that, where you can feel the passion, but you're not sure. You really think you know what you're doing, and then you start second guessing yourself. So there are 2 points, I think, where you have to be careful about who you listen to. Up here, when you're in Nine of Swords energy, you probably listen to people and because you're feeling anxious about whether you've made the right decision. Down here, it's just like information coming to you is not necessarily what it appears to be. But this is not as bad as it appears. This is like when you're starting to doubt yourself. So be aware by about then you'll really start to move forward and really feel crystal clear, and then you're going to start to worry about whether you did the right thing. So January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. So then by September, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. Yeah, by September, Six of Pentacles reverse. Okay, this is kind of tilting down to the energy about like where you give and what you get. Now, Six of Pentacles reverse can be good. This could be saying that if you can get out of doubting yourself, you get into a position which is more equal in terms of exchange. You're not beholden to anyone else. You have liberated yourself. But I do feel because it's connecting to here, you do need to kind of like almost do a reconsideration. If you're in doubt still, it's like, do you feel that there's reciprocal energy? If you feel there's reciprocal energy in your work, in your spirituality, in your love life, whatever it is, it's fine. That should be your barometer, not have I done everything right. It's more, am I getting that strength of the reciprocal energy? January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. Okay, by October. Okay, so a few things could happen here. This could be that you do decide, some of you may decide that the relationship that came in is not, a divine union is not the one that you want long term. Others of you could have an ex coming back, or this energy could come back. It could be, and say for argument's sake that this is, you're going to realize a relationship that you're in, and maybe say you're married, let's put it that way. So justice comes in. There's going to be in this 12 months a separation to bring in something new. This could be when that is finalized. But it could also be that you having gone through all this, you make a determination that the new relationship is like a version of the old. So it's going to depend on who's coming to this reading, but there's a decision around relationship at that point, or a separation around that point. Okay, so then November. This could be to go into something that is more, so it could be leaving one behind to get another one. That's the most likely thing there, because that then looks like a committed sort of relationship, a committed sort of energy. Could also be really establishing yourself at work as well too. It is possible, because lovers isn't always about love relationships. It could be leaving a workplace behind, moving to something else, and so you're leaving relationships as well. And then by December, Eight of Cups, you finally let go of whatever sort of residual energy. So you feel more stable in whatever your decision is, whatever happens. But I do think for some of you there's a significant relationship, but I think there's a significant or a committed one that you have to kind of finally detach from to bring it in. I think for others of you, it's just about becoming more assertive in what you want in relationships, and then sort of letting it play out. I think career kind of looks after itself. I think you're okay with that, but I do think there's also something about, who are you listening to spiritually? is you need to listen to your own inner knowing. And I think you'll know by January, February, March, April, May, June. You'll know to listen by July, even if you start second guessing yourself straight after you listen. Okay, so let's have a look at some energies around this, sort of like general energy. So this is the Heart Code Oracle. So this is to look at relationships, career and finance, well-being and lifestyle as other sort of energies, either to sort of maximize if they're good or to be aware of and mitigate if they're challenging. So around relationship, time apart. Okay, so for some of you, you could literally be coming into this in a separation, and you may reconcile or you may not, or somebody new might come in, but there's sort of something about having time to really think this through and decide what matters to you, and I think that's a positive thing for you. Around career, promotion, yeah, career's good. Career's just going to look after itself. You know, your planning, your ability is recognised. That's very fortunate. Finance, even though I think you're going to make more money, you're looking like you're saving around something. So this could be because there's sort of significant things around relationships as well, or that you want to buy a home. You could buy a home. You could put a mortgage down on a home by around about March potentially as well. Lifestyle, initiative. Yeah, you're meant to change to take the initiative, the Aries energy. You don't have to be an Aries for this, but Aries energy takes the initiative. It's very much moves forward. And well-being, anxiety, you just need to be aware that you've had some anxiety and you're going to have a little bit more of it. But that's part of your barometer. When you start feeling anxious, that's when you can really determine, are you in a situation where you're getting supported to the degree that you're needing support? Is it reciprocal? Okay. So let's get you a spirit team to sort of also help you in the next 12 months. So we're going to get a power animal, we're going to get a divine feminine energy, and we're going to get an archangel energy for you. So firstly, a power animal. Deer, power. Yeah, power. You actually have a lot of power, this Aries sort of energy up here, and I think this is the issue. I think that maybe people, if the spiritual group that you're around might even recognize that and try to control you. You're meant to come into your own power in you. Definitely, like, work's going to be fine, but you need to get your strength back. You need to sort of like reclaim your power, because I think it's been leached off a bit, particularly potentially spiritually. Let's have a look at a divine feminine energy for you. Grandmother Spider. Okay, so she connects you to the other realms. I think she's coming here to extricate you from something that wasn't real, that wasn't part of the web of your life, so that you can build more towards the web of your life. That High Priestess, you're going to really start to understand the ancient wisdom that you have, and you're going to have that. I think she's going to particularly come into play sort of in the sort of second half of the year. Really taking you forward and to give you that sort of sense of what is the web and weave of your life and what you're meant to do. So again, back yourself, don't worry. And then we will get you an archangel as well. Jeremiah. So he's here, I think, to help you with this spiritual assessment, because that's kind of what he does. He sort of helps with a life review, not necessarily that, you know, your life's over or anything, but just that kind of like mini life reviews that we have within our life, and to sort of see what isn't working. You know, with the colouring, the sort of purples and the blues, it connects to the higher realms, just like grandmother Spider here, you know, and the ancient wisdom and all that kind of thing. So I think they're energies to remind you of your spiritual power. I think you've given it up to others. I think you're more powerful, more knowledgeable, more connected than maybe the spiritual people that you've been around. And I think that you're going to start to realize that. And Jeremiah helps you to gently detach from that and to not give yourself a hard time. So I think, and again, I think that's particularly going to, there's some almost material and maybe personal things that happen in the first half of the year, and then by the second half of the year you're going to have anxiety sometimes about whether you're having tickets on yourself about your spirituality, but you really are spiritually dialed in. You put yourself almost in a follower role where you're meant to be more of a leader, you're meant to be more powerful. I think that energy is going to become clearer for you. So let's have a look at some spiritual gifts and energies that's going to help you over the year. Psychic medium. So yeah, you are. You're very psychic. I just think you're around competitive people or people who've tried to control this, but more and more this connection is going to come through. And that fits very much with the High Priestess. And blogger platform. So you're meant to sort of do something out in the world with it. You're meant to be seen in the world with it. Could also say blogger platform, Twitter, any of those sort of things make me think of social media. Maybe some of the connections you've had spiritually have been online. You're meant to sort of lead out with something because you're more the genuine article than the sort of ones that you've been around by the looks of things. Okay, and from a different deck. Solar plexus energy, stand in your light. Yeah, this is about you becoming empowered, getting your strength back, having the new inspiration, how you plan what you want and bring it into being and manifest it, and how you get away from anything that's sort of like illegitimately held you back. And rise in love. Okay, I do think for most of you there's something good coming in relationship-wise. You'll know if this is about it, whether it's something that you want long-term. But I think for many of you, you kind of move out of something that wasn't working into something that is meant to work. That's the main feeling I get from this. Let's have a look. And if you are already in love and that is not happening, you're not needing to sort of do that, and it's more around friendships and the spiritual group, then there's something about that relationship that really helps you manifest your power and get this imbalance. Let's get you some astrology or numerology. Mercury, how you communicate. Yeah, there's something about what you're going to communicate. Your communication skills are on point. Trust those. 9, yeah, there's a cycle ending. There's endings so that new beginnings can happen. And 6, and you'll find a new tribe. And if you're around something spiritual because you wanted other people, you will find the right people. You are meant to be in community, but it's like I feel like you're not in the right community at the moment, most of you. Or you might have like already realized it and you're moving out of it. But there's a completion of one cycle to bring in the spiritual tribe, so to speak. Okay, so to finish off, what I wanted to do was have something that's a little bit fun with the music oracles. So we've got a couple of icons for music. So this is for the soundtrack of your next 12 months, your 2023. And so we'll have a look at the advice and what icons you have, but this can just be humorous. So if it's just humorous, have a bit of a laugh. Take whatever works for you, leave the rest. So we have John Cage and Bruce Springsteen. Okay, very strong in terms of their image and who they were and all that kind of thing. So I think that's really picking up that this is meant to be about you and meant to be about what you believe in and a very strong sort of energy around that. John Cage says, don't fall in love with your first idea. Now this is like the first idea. So maybe you have to take a bit of time and really work it through. Maybe that's the point. Don't rush it, like plan everything and so forth. And also don't share your ideas with people who might exploit you either. He says, surrender to chance. There's a point at which you've got to kind of just let things happen, I think. And he says, all great art contains at its center contemplation. So you go within, find your own power. Don't crowdsource your spirituality or creativity, your ideas or anything. Bruce Springsteen says, there will always be magic even on the darkest nights. So yeah, you are very spiritually attuned. I just think that you've kind of lost some of that, spark, but you can bring it back. He says, may your mistakes like your sins be your own. Yeah, not other people's guidance. And he says, follow the river, but keep your eyes on the sea. Yeah, the bigger picture. What is it you really want? Everything that you bring into being, the decisions, they should be towards, what kind of world and what kind of life you actually want to create. I think there's a lot of potential this year, but there's an adjustment. There's definitely an adjustment around the people that you're with, the relationships you're in, and getting those back into a better balance. As I say, I think work kind of looks after itself. So I think it's much more in the realm of the personal and spiritual for you in 2023 or in the next 12 months. I hope that resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed it. If so, I may see you in future readings. Please like and subscribe. And if you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear about it. Otherwise, I hope to see you again.